intern teachers, and I hope the TSC has no problem not referring to them as interns, because according to you, and is correct, these are qualified teachers. They are not interns. They are fully qualified. We can refer them to being on contract, but then with the terms that as soon as that contract expires, they transition into PNP. That should be your contracting situation, because we will provide you the resources for that transition, because it's a commitment that I made. Number 2 is on industrial action. Jebet, wacha uchochezi, please. Because, you know, this space has been filled with, you know, maandamanos, people with sufurias on their heads, and all manner of things. And sometimes, you know, teachers, they don't do it out of the fact that they like to do it, because they are also parents, you know. No parent wants to go roaming in the streets with sufurias, you know, because you have all children. We all have children. But they do it, of course, as a last resort. But we decided, and I gave very firm and clear instructions to the ministry, that let us confront the collective bargaining agreements. Let us negotiate ahead of industrial action. And we have done it in health. We have done it in education. That is why there has not been a serious strike in the last 3 years. Not because they didn't want to go on strike, but we decided that let's engage them. And there were people who were accusing the teachers' unions, oh, why have you signed the collective bargaining agreement? But that's the basis of the engagement between teachers and government. Once we honor their collective bargaining agreement, they have no reason to engage in industrial action. And my commitment to the teaching fraternity and to all the other spaces is that we will go ahead of time. We have, for example, we had a problem with the doctors. We decided to pay them whatever previous governments had committed to. You know, I didn't say it's not my place to do it. We decided to pay whatever it was. I'm sure we spent close to 3.7 billion shillings to pay what was the backlog. And the teacher unions were also very understanding. They allowed us to pay it in phases and that kind of thing. So I really want to persuade us that instead of confrontation, in a meeting like this, we can find greater collaboration and we can find greater understanding. And that way, we don't make the business of teaching difficult. We don't affect our learners. And we don't put teachers also at a point where they have to go to the streets.
Reverend Gat, and you're representing chaplains in our institutions, which we know that they play a critical role in bringing up our children in schools. Maybe just talk about the issues also that you raised earlier on the chaplainship in our institutions and a token, as you call it.
And I want to say that I represent both the sector past, and we continue to be ready to continue investing, especially in supporting moral and spiritual formation, which is one of the goals of our education. And we have hundreds, and I think now in thousands of chaplains in many schools across the country. And the education policy talks about these chaplains should be supplied to the schools at the expense of the sponsor. I think it's only in basic education specifically where the government is not allowed by law to support chaplains. because in all other sectors, universities, wherever else, the money that may be spent, for example, in basic education, to do moral and formation is, as you have seen in the past recent issue, is called an illegal allocation, because there's no other way, because the Act says the government shouldn't pay. So as chaplains, we've been talking about this, and we are ready to continue collaborating, and we do, not only in terms of the government paying, but also having a conversation, because I believe it is, as a sponsor, the sponsors can do something, but also that collaboration should be allowed by law. We continue to be happy with the competence-based education. As chaplains, we had a meeting recently, and we evaluated the situation. When people get stressed, when people don't have jobs, when people have failed exams, they come to us for counseling. And when we see a system whereby all are valued and they come out all winners, we are happy for that. And Your Excellency, we are happy for the CBE education, and we are happy for that. And we hope that the teething problems here and there in terms of allocation of resources and so on, labs and so on, will be catered for. But we would want to have a more collaborative approach between the educations, all the stakeholders. And Your Excellency, you mentioned all of them, and you said we should all collaborate. And I hope that that will be, we are going to enhance that. We are ready as sponsors, as religious sponsors. We are ready as chaplains to continue. And I said we have thousands of them in schools, not supported by in any way, but self-sponsoring themselves. The sponsors are sponsoring them, because even schools, they find it very necessary. Every school in this country that has a name has a chaplain. And I believe this is something that we continue conversation around. We have from 2017, for example, been trying to say, what do chaplains do in school? Many of the stakeholders here know we have many chaplains who have been doing work in school, but even principals have not been able to say what they do. In 2017, the Minister of Education came up and said we want to do guidelines on just guiding chaplains what they do. Your Excellency, since that time, nobody wants to finish that process. We've been trying to move, and nobody wants to have it completed. I believe that's a very basic guideline, just to tell the chaplains, now that you are in schools, what are you supposed to do? And we sit down together, the minister and all, and ask ourselves, what are they supposed to do? I would encourage that we be collaborative. The religious sponsors are ready to support the system of education. The task forces that have been there, we have had the religious representation. We have given very good input, including the recent presidential task force. And the government at the higher level has been listening to the religious community and inputting a lot of input. And I believe that we can do more collaboration. And I hope I've answered the question that you asked.
Yes, you did. You did. Thank you so much. Let me just bring in Waziri on the issue of textbooks in grade 10, which I know the latest data shows that 11 million books have been distributed. Do you have data that shows specific subjects in schools? Because there are few principals who are saying they are yet to receive enough, because we find 5 to 6 learners are sharing a book. So is it the difference when it comes to, others actually are saying, is it the principals who took so many students beyond their capacity? So talk to us about that shortage of textbooks, and if there is a database where you can say, English, this number of students in this country are needing these books.
Thank you, and the CEO for KICD is here. He'll be able to give more details on it. But as you know, when grade 10 transitioned, grade 9 transitioned to grade 10, a number of students requested for transfers from one school to another. So during that time, the data that was being used was the data that had been previously presented to KICD for the distribution of the textbooks, so that the ratio of 1-to-1 per subject was to be met. Now, because of that movement, the KICD did a circular or a request to all the principals to do another return to indicate, yes, last year we had put in a requisition, for example, for 600 books. Now we have 620. So that then KICD could then do the rationalization of that process and redistribute the books to the various institutions. Some who had more were asked to return those books, and those who didn't have were requested to give in the information so that they can get. But easier, I can answer that question more appropriately.
Thank you very much, our Cabinet Secretary. Maximum respects, Your Excellency. In addition to what the Cabinet Secretary has said, we have now got responses from the principals on the actual numbers of learners taking actual subjects. But as we talk today, we have to verify those numbers through our sub-county directors of education so that we are sure that the numbers the principals are giving us are the exact numbers of learners, because we don't want it to run into the problems that took place before verification. We have given that process 1 week, and after that 1 week, we should be able to tell the publishers, now these students in these schools have this shortage, and they'll get back the books before the end of this month. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Maybe just so that I can assist from where I sit. You see, this data thing is actually at the heart of solving many of our problems. And it is the reason why we shouldn't be waiting for a teacher to send us returns. If we digitize this data, we can authoritatively know how many students are in school X. And we just send the correct number of books to that school. That is why this digitization is very important. We've traveled a journey, a long journey to getting it where we've gotten it. I'm very happy that Ogamba here tells me now they are ready for the rollout. You said on 10th, 15th. It'll be the first time we on board, we go live. And then that is with the secondary. With the secondary, and then 2 weeks later we go live with the primary and make sure that we have all this data so that KICD will authoritatively send books, the correct number, to every school, because we will have their data onboarded on a digital platform. Number two, two things that my good friend Chaplain my good friend Gatu here said on the matter of chaplaincy. It is true that maybe a conversation has to be done, because he says it's been hanging because nobody wants to deal with it. So I think in a forum like this, we need to have a conversation. What is the job of the chaplain? What is the job of guidance and counseling? Who does it? Do we have teachers who do guidance and counseling, psychologists? What is the training of the chaplain? What kind of a chaplain? What are the qualifications of a chaplain? Once we have identified what they
Happy
are
Nurses
supposed
Week.
to do,
We are the hearts that
then
care.
we
are the hands that
have
heal. We
qualifications
stand strong
so
every
that
day.
if
Through
they
every
are
shift,
supposed
we
to
show
do
up.
job
You are
X,
valued. You are
they
appreciated.
must
Our
have the qualifications to accomplish that responsibility. So I think this is the conversation that we need to have. And then we will also need to have who pays them. Okay. We have schools that are sponsored by churches, but we also have schools that are not sponsored by anybody, government schools that are not sponsored by anybody. What happens? You know, that kind of conversation is what needs to be done. And Waziri, I'm sure a forum like this will provide a good space. We can have suggestions, it can be refined, and then it can be approved. And then as government, we can pick them up, take them to Parliament, we create a policy, and then subsequently we generate either regulations or a piece of legislation to guide that process. And finally, to the conversation, I just wanted to bring to the, to buttress what I said about being frontal with engagement. There was a problem with SHA, with teachers, about a month ago, when there was a problem of co-pay, you know. It came to us as because we were trying to protect teachers' money not to be eaten by some of the hospitals that we know. Then some people went overboard. But I'm very happy the minister came with his team, the teachers' unions came with their teams, they sat down and they agreed and sorted out the problem. Now we have clarity on what is going to happen. And I want to say, when I engage teachers, the scheme that they had before was actually working against teachers because they had access to only 900 hospitals. Today, they have access to 9,000 hospitals across the country. Their scheme was good on paper, but was not good in practice. So we have now changed that, and I want to confirm to the teaching fraternity that we are going to make your terms better. Because why? Look, we were paying an average of 24 billion shillings every year for the private insurance. Under SHA, we're going to be spending between 15 and 16 billion. We are saving close to 7 billion shillings every year. Just imagine. Money that was being shared by characters in this town. And they are the ones who are sponsoring all manner of things. Headline this today, they put another headline tomorrow, they put another story, social media, blah, blah, blah. You know, because they have lost, you know, the gravy train. We've stopped the gravy train. But, and that is why when you see all these screaming headlines, oh, SHA is not working, I don't know, the teachers have rejected SHA, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And you see them in the headline. When you go to read the story inside, there is nothing. It is because it's sponsored, you know, because they want a crisis so that they take us back where they were making 7 billion shillings every year. I want to promise you that will not happen anymore. Not under my administration. Not when I don't know where the right thing is. We will stop them. They have eaten enough. So we are going to work with these teachers. Instead of us paying those characters more money, we better improve the terms of to the teachers because they work for it.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency.